You are holding on so tightly to something you love, a relationship, a dream, your sense of identity, clinging as if your very life depends on it. And then, in one quiet moment, you hear a voice telling you, in the end, everything you hold dear will slip through your fingers. This voice is not cruel, nor is it hopeless. It is the voice of the Buddha, pointing to a truth so raw, so profound, that most people cannot bear to look at it. The Buddha once said, "All conditioned things are of a nature to decay." This is the darkest Buddha quote nobody talks about. It is darker than death, darker than any storm, because it reveals the true groundlessness of everything you love. Yet buried inside these words is also a path to freedom. In the next few minutes, I invite you to walk with me through this darkness. Together, we will explore why accepting the collapse of everything is not only wise, but maybe the only way to taste a deeper peace than you've ever known. Because what if, just what if, everything you cling to is the source of your suffering? Stay with me, and let's begin. In an ancient Zen parable, a wise master lifts a porcelain teacup and smiles gently at a young student. He says, "This cup is already broken." The student looks at him, confused. After all, the cup is still whole, its curves beautiful, the glaze flawless. But the master continues, "Because I know the cup will one day break, I can truly appreciate it now. I can use it freely, drink from it, admire it, without fear." This is the power of seeing impermanence not as a tragedy, but as a teacher. The Buddha's words, "All conditioned things are of a nature to decay," are meant to awaken you to the simple, inescapable truth. Everything you hold, every relationship, every treasure, even your own body will change, fade, and eventually disappear. If you resist this, your mind becomes a clenched fist, terrified of loss. But if you accept it, your mind becomes an open hand, gentle, loving, free. You see, the cup is already broken. The relationship will one day end. The perfect moment will dissolve. This might sound unbearably sad, but it is only sad if you refuse to see the miracle of each moment as it arrives, knowing it cannot stay. So the first lesson is this: look at your life as if everything you love is a fragile porcelain cup, already broken, and love it anyway. Because the moment you embrace impermanence, you find a deeper appreciation for every breath. But how does this help us with pain? Let's go deeper. The Buddha once told the parable of a man shot with a poisoned arrow. Instead of pulling it out, the man becomes obsessed with who fired it, what kind of wood it was made from, and why he was attacked. Meanwhile, the poison spreads through his blood, killing him. This, the Buddha explained, is how most of us live. We are pierced by suffering, a heartbreak, a loss, a disappointment, and instead of tending to the wound, we fixate on the story behind it. We cling to our anger, to our confusion, to our craving for things to be different. In doing so, we poison ourselves again and again. You might think, if I just hold on tighter, maybe it won't hurt so badly. But holding on is the very thing that prolongs the pain. The darkest Buddha quote, "All conditioned things decay," is like the moment you finally pull out the arrow. It hurts, yes, but it frees you from the poison. This is what non-attachment really means. It is not coldness, it is not withdrawal. Non-attachment is the art of letting things pass through you without letting them destroy you. When you stop clinging to what is already changing, you stop feeding the poison. It is here, in this surrender, that true compassion is born. And the deeper you look, the more you will see. There is nothing worth clinging to in the first place. But what about love? Doesn't that mean we have to give up on love? Let's see. A student once asked the Buddha, "If everything is impermanent, why should we love at all?" The Buddha smiled softly and replied, "Because love is a momentary gift, not a possession. You see, love only becomes painful when you try to chain it down, to possess it, to guarantee it will never change. But love is like a wild bird. If you hold it too tightly, it suffocates. When you love with non-attachment, you allow love to breathe, to change, to flow through you. You do not pretend it will stay the same forever. This is the hardest lesson of all, because it asks you to love someone knowing they will one day leave, or you will. It asks you to hold a child, knowing they will grow beyond you. It asks you to build a life, knowing one day you will have to let it go. Yet the miracle is this: when you love without trying to own, your heart becomes vast. You can love more deeply, with less fear, because you are no longer trying to cage the bird. You love because loving is an act of beauty, regardless of the outcome. This is the doorway to unconditional compassion, the kind that says, "I will love you even if you change, even if you go, even if you cannot stay." This is the freedom hidden in the darkest quote of the Buddha. But what about the fear that still clings to us? Let's go even deeper. Most people recoil from impermanence because it feels like emptiness. If all conditioned things decay, then what is left? It can feel like staring into a void. The death of a loved one, the collapse of a dream, the loss of your youth. These feel like pieces of your soul are being ripped away. But the Buddha taught that within this emptiness there is a hidden jewel. When you let go of clinging, you discover a space inside you that cannot be destroyed. This space is awareness itself, a clear mirror that simply reflects reality as it is. You might call it your true nature. It is never born, never dies, never clings to anything. And when you rest in this spacious awareness, you realize that emptiness is not a curse. It is a canvas, vast, open, unbounded. From this place, you can meet every change with calm. You can see loss as part of a larger dance, a cosmic rhythm where everything arises and passes away. Yes, this is a kind of darkness, a stripping away of illusions, but beyond the darkness there is freedom, a light that does not depend on any condition. Can you see it yet? The cup is already broken, the arrow is already poisoned, and yet within that harsh truth there is a doorway to unconditional peace. But how do you keep this peace alive? Let's continue. We often hear about mindfulness, but rarely do we see its true depth. Mindfulness is not just a technique to calm down. It is a radical act of courage, to look at reality exactly as it is without turning away. When you train your mind to see every sensation, every thought, every emotion as something passing through, you become unshakable. You realize, I am not this fear, I am not this grief, I am the space that witnesses them. In that space, you become vast enough to hold your own heartbreak. You can notice it, feel it, even cry, but you do not drown. Mindfulness is the lamp you carry into the dark hall of impermanence. It is how you keep the poison from spreading, how you keep the cups breaking from destroying you. It is how you remember that while all conditioned things decay, awareness itself does not. This is the secret of the Buddha's path, to use mindfulness as a refuge, a sanctuary no one can steal from you. When the storms of life arrive, as they always do, you have this quiet, sacred place within you. No one can take it away. But how can you develop this kind of unshakable refuge? There is one more layer to explore. The Buddha was not only a teacher of wisdom, but of boundless compassion. It is easy to see impermanence and turn cold, to say, why care about anything? But the Buddha offered a more luminous answer. Cultivate compassion for all beings. Because when you recognize that everyone is losing what they love, everyone is struggling with decay, everyone is terrified of change, your heart naturally softens. Compassion is how you hold the suffering of others without becoming overwhelmed. It is the bridge between wisdom and love. When you understand impermanence deeply, you can forgive more easily. You can show patience to those who hurt you, because you see how they too are struggling against the current of change. Compassion is a training of the heart, the practice of opening again and again, even after it has been broken. In that sense, the broken cup is not a symbol of despair, but of courage. Because no matter how many times it shatters, the heart that understands compassion can always be made whole again. This is how we live with impermanence, with a fearless, open heart. But there is one last truth that will tie all of this together. And we ask, where does all of this leave us? It leaves us with the most radical promise of Buddhism. When you stop clinging to what cannot stay, you discover a freedom so vast that nothing can bind you ever again. This is the final message of the Buddha's darkest quote. Yes, everything is of a nature to decay. That is terrifying, until you realize Because everything decays, you are free to experience it without fear. You do not have to build walls around your heart. You do not have to keep your guard up at every moment. Instead, you can meet each moment as it is, fresh and unrepeatable, knowing it will soon pass, and that this is what makes it precious. Freedom comes not from controlling the world, but from releasing your illusions about it. And with that release, you can finally stand in the middle of chaos, breathing calmly, unshaken. The cup is already broken, but you can still drink deeply from it. The arrow is already poisoned, but you can still heal. The world is already changing, but you can still love. This is the promise of Buddhist practice, a peace beyond clinging, a love beyond fear, a freedom beyond self. So the next time you hear these words, all conditioned things are of a nature to decay. Do not turn away. Look straight into their darkness. See the truth of your life, your loves, your losses as they really are. Temporary, fragile, impossibly beautiful. Let this vision soften you, break you open, and set you free. If you found something here today, a light, a calmness, a path, then I invite you to stay on this journey with me. Subscribe for more daily Buddhist insights, and if someone you care about is struggling to find peace, share this video with them, because we all deserve to live without chains, to love without fear, and to awaken from suffering. Thank you for walking this path with me. May you be free. May you be peaceful. May you be whole.